Hello, it's Caroline at the Benicia Public Library. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a moon phases tracker. So this is basically a tool that you can use to make observations about the different phases of the moon all throughout the year 2020, but especially this summer. If you signed up for the nature summer reading theme, we gave you the things you need. So there's 3 pages. They're all a little bit different, double-sided, and this is what we're going to need to use. You will also need tape. Hopefully you have it home. And we also gave you a little brad fastener. Now, if you did not sign up for nature, that's okay. I will put a link in the bottom of the video on YouTube where you can print this out for yourself. And then all you need to do is get the brad and tape. I should also mention you'll need scissors. So, you know what? You also need a pen. Okay, but I think that's it. So let's get started. I've never made this myself. I've only read the instructions, so this is going to be a learning experience for me as well. So we're going to start with a calendar wheel. This is beautiful. If you want, you can cut this out. I'm not going to. I actually think this page is really nice, and I like how it kind of labels Moon Phases 2020. So I'm just going to leave this as it is. The next step, and if you print this out, all the instructions are also here on the back. So I'm just following what this says. The next step is to get the moon phases wheel. That is this page. Now mine might look a little different from yours because I did a little work in advance. What you need to do at this point is fill in the different phases of the moon. So when you print this out or take it out of your packet, all of the moons are going to be completely white like this one. However, not every phase of the moon is completely white, only the full moon. So you're going to start with the new moon, which is totally black, totally darked out. And then on both sides, we've got the waxing and waning crescent, where it's about 3/4 full. And then we've got the first quarter and the third quarter. And then at the bottom, we've got the waxing and waning gibbous, where it's only about 1/4 dark. And at the very bottom, the full moon, you can just leave blank because it's totally lit up. Now, if you have the nature booklet, we actually have a moon phases chart for you in activity 3, make moon phase observations. So all of those phases that you need to draw in are here. The one difference between the two, on this page it says first quarter and last quarter, and on this page it says first quarter and third quarter. Third quarter and last quarter are the same thing. So when you fill these in, I recommend rotating the page as you fill it in. So for example, when you do third quarter and the right side is dark, that's like the last quarter here and the right side is dark. I hope that makes sense. But basically, when you're done, it should look basically like this. So just take a quick look at that. And I just used this pen to fill it in. You could use whatever kind of black pen you have. Perfect. Now we're going to cut it out. This is very important. When we printed these out, and this is just kind of something that happens, even though it is double-sided and there's kind of like a template on the back for where to cut out, don't cut out on this side with the dotted lines because they didn't actually line up perfectly. And the more important side is the front. So looking at the front of this page, I'm going to cut out this circle. So I'm going to try to do that pretty quickly because otherwise this video is not going to be very exciting for you. So give me just one moment, and we are cutting out that moon phases circle from that page. Halfway done. Here we go. All right. You don't need to cut as fast as me. I'm just trying to do this quickly so the video doesn't get too boring. All right, my friends, nearly done. And all right, we've cut out that circle. And if you look at the back of that page, you can see there's a whole side where like the lines didn't line up. So that's why it's important to not cut it off based on the template, but based on the front. Sweet, that was step 2. All right, the next step is to cut out the viewing wheel and panels. The viewing wheel is this beautiful page. I did do one thing in advance. I'm not going to get into it yet, but basically there is one hole kind of here that needs to get punched out. I did that in advance because I thought that might be boring to watch. But anyway, let's cut out this viewing wheel. And on the back it even says viewing wheel. Now this is the same thing as before. The lines on the back do not match the lines on the front. So cut it out looking at the front. Okay, I'm going to cut this out. I just realized this whole video is just you watching me cut things out. But, you know, it is what it is. All right, so I'm cutting out my viewing wheel. And this is kind of an interesting shape. The moon phases wheel that I cut out a minute ago, as you know, was a perfect circle. But this one kind of has some wedges that cut into it. So just cut along sort of that dark line on the outside of the wheel. So you can see my progress so far. I've got this wedge cut out. All right, so I'm coming around another side of that circle, and I'm just about to hit another wedge that I need to cut. While you're cutting, you can just think of how fun it's going to be to make all these moon observations. Do you ever go out and just look at the moon anyway? Did you already know some of these phases of the moon? I bet if you take some science classes at school, you've probably learned about some of these already. Or if you haven't, maybe you will soon. All right, my friends, I'm nearly done cutting out this viewing wheel. Thank you for sticking with me. Again, I'm trying to do this a little bit fast just because I don't want you to get too tired of watching me cut things out. But you can take your time while you're doing this at home because you certainly don't want to mess up if you can do a good job and be careful. Okay, I just have one last wedge here to cut out, and then I'll be done with the viewing wheel. Okay, that's done. This is done. Okay, we're in the home stretch. All right, awesome. So we've cut out the viewing wheel. It looks like that. There are also viewing panels. This is the last thing I'm going to cut out. So bear with me for just a moment. These are on the same page that the moon phases wheel was on. It's these at the top. Again, even though it's on the back, don't cut it out. Cut it out based on the lines on the front. So we've got a moon rise and a moon set. And these should be fairly fast to cut out because they're kind of easier shapes. They've just got some straight lines and some curved lines. So I'm nearly done with the moon rise panel. Okay. And now, finally, the moon set panel. All right. So the next step after this, I believe, is just going to be kind of assembling all these different pieces. All right, one more line to cut, then no more cutting at all. We've done it. Okay, my friends. We've cut everything out. We've cut out the moon phases wheel. We've cut out the viewing wheel, which this is the front. We've cut out the little moon set and moonrise wheels. And just a reminder, if you want to, you can also cut out this big wheel. I'm not going to, and especially not on this video. Okay, let's assemble everything. So, on the back of the viewing wheel, you need to punch a hole. So this is the one part I did in advance. And as you can see, the hole really doesn't line up on the front and back. So make sure when you do punch out this hole that it's based on where the hole is on the front. We're doing everything based on where it is on the front. Now, punching out this hole might be a little tricky. I really carefully used a craft knife to cut it. I don't recommend using a knife unless you have an adult to do it for you, because knives are sharp and it's, you know, you don't want to hurt yourself. So if you have a hole punch at home, you could try punching it with a hole punch right on that wheel. You could even kind of fold it a little bit and make a tiny cut with paper and kind of cut it out with scissors. I know it's a really tiny hole, so it's maybe about the size of like an eraser on a pencil. So just do it slowly. If you think you might need adult help to get it really nice, ask for help. But that is the next step, is to punch out that little wheel. And then the last step of this, the next step I should say, is to tape the moonrise and moonset panels onto this. So if you turn the viewing wheel around, on the back it says tape moonrise and tape moonset panels here. So let's do the moonset first. So that's moonset. Here's moonset. You want to have so this is the back of the viewing wheel. We also want the back of the moonset. Ooh, there's a fly. Go away from me. Okay, so again, these little shaded areas on, oops, I'm doing this totally backwards. These little shaded areas on the template may not perfectly align to exactly where you want it, but let's at least start there. So we're doing the moonset. I've got the moonset. This is the back of it, and it's going to basically go over where that gray part was. Now, if I flip it over and look at the front, basically what we're doing, gosh, I'm so sorry, this fly is like flying all around me. Basically what we're doing is we're filling in this little space, and there's like a little window still there. Do you see how that works? So something that might work well is to try to align the dotted lines on the moonset panel to the dotted lines on the back there. Anyway, enough talking from me. Now that I've placed it, I'm going to use tape, one piece on one side, one piece on the other, to secure it into place. Okay, enough chatter. You can see what I've done. I've got our moonset panel in place. Now we're going to do the same thing on the moonrise panel side. So remember to have the back of the moonrise panel here, so that on the front there's like a nice little part where it says moonrise. So I'm going to quickly place that where I want it, have that little kind of window peeping through, so that at the end of this step, you've got a viewing wheel that looks like this, with the two little kind of windows. All right, and I don't have them quite aligned the same size, so I'm actually going to move my moonrise panel in a tiny bit, because I think that might be where I want it. You can always adjust it later if you don't have it quite perfect. All right, we're at the final step, my friends. So on each layer, there's a spot in the middle where you need to poke a hole. Ignore the back, poke the hole based on the front. So let's start. I'm going to start from the bottom layer. This moon phases tracker, that's the bottom layer. And for this hole, I'm just going to use a pen to poke a hole right in the middle. So as you can see, I poked a hole. And then on top of that, the next layer is the moon phases. Let me triple check that. Yes. I think I'm right. I'm going to continue on. So the moon phases go above that bottom layer, and I'm just using a pen again to poke a little hole in the middle, or more or less in the middle. Finally, this viewing wheel, kind of this big tracker we just made and spent all this time on, this is the very top layer. And so we're going to poke that hole in the very top there. Okay, so I've poked that hole. Now that I have all those holes poked, here's where you're going to need a little brad. And like I said, we provided this for you if you got the kit, but otherwise see if you have one at home or if you can maybe buy one. So going from top to bottom, I'm putting the brad through the viewing wheel, then through, always through the kind of the front facing up. Then the moon phases below that. And then finally, poke that brad through our moon phases wheel, the big one. We're so close. This is like basically the final step. So once that brad is in place, attach that brad at the back. So here's what the back of the brad looks like. You kind of open it up, and at the front, we've got kind of this big spinning, exciting thing. Now, how does it work? What are we doing with this? All right, on the back of that first big sheet that had the big calendar on it, it has how to use. Let me move my brad so I can see. How to use. So, use this moon phases calendar and calculator to find out when moon phases are visible throughout the year and where to spot the moon in the sky. So this is for the northern hemisphere where we live here in Venetia, and it's also for the year 2020, the year we're currently living in. All right, first, turn the top viewing wheel to a date or date range for which you would like to know the moon phase or viewing location. All right, my friends, this video is coming out on July 1st, so let's start with July 1st. The viewing wheel, I'm going to rotate it around. So the very top of the calendar has like December and January, so I'm going to rotate it all the way around to July 1st. So there's a range here that says June 29th to July 3rd, so that's going to apply to July 1st as well. All right. Let's see. Okay. So the important part is that we have that date range showing in the viewing wheel. Okay? I apologize if this is a little confusing, but once I'm done, hopefully it'll all make sense. So after we've found that date, we're going to turn the moon phases wheel so the phase on the wheel matches what's pictured on the date we've selected. So basically, if we look at this date range for June 29th to July 3rd, or whatever date range you're doing, I'm looking at that moon and I'm like, that looks like it is 3/4 full and like one sliver light still. So what I'm going to do is I'm rotating that center wheel, the moon phases that we filled at the beginning, and I'm trying to find the one that matches it. So as you can see, I just matched this one that's 3/4 full, but if you look, they don't actually match because I picked the one that has the white on the other side. So I'm going to rotate it all the way around until I find the one that matches. Okay, if you look again, now you can see that this circle matches that circle. All right, does that make sense? And let's see. It's a little confusing because July is at the bottom, so I have to keep flipping it over. All right, be sure the black arrow on the moon phases wheel is pointing to the correct date. Yep. Once the wheels are aligned, you'll see approximately when the moon will rise in the east, be overhead when facing south, and set in the west for that particular date. So the moon rises in the east, goes up, and sets in the west, similar to the sun, for that date. So let's take a look. Okay. So something I'm noticing. I've got my moon aligned. It's the waning crescent. It's pointing to the waning crescent on July 1st. And over here on the moon set, I see it's going to set at 3 p.m. That's 3 in the afternoon. But when I'm looking at the moon rise, I see that the time is not showing there. So what I realize I need to do is move out that moonrise panel to make that window a little bit bigger. So this is where I taped on that moonrise panel to the back of the viewing wheel. So I just untaped it and pulled it out a little bit. It's not a perfect little shape anymore, but if you see, now we can see 3 a.m. So the moon rose at 3 a.m. this morning, and it set at 3 p.m. this afternoon. So it was up for about 12 hours. Finally, let's see. In the center of the viewing wheel, there's going to be a view of Earth and the moon as seen from space above the northern hemisphere. So let's see if we can figure out how to make that work. Okay. Okay, this is actually really cool. So just to show you, the phase is at the top. It's pointing to the date we want. On the sides, we see the moon rise and moon set. And if you look in the center, this circle in the center is the globe. That's Earth. And you could see that that's North America over here, and over here is Europe and Asia. And the Brad is right in the North Pole. So this is the whole northern hemisphere. Now, the circle that we punched out really carefully, that's the view in space of the moon. So you can see what part of the moon is dark and what part is light from the sun if you were in space looking down from that angle at the North Pole. So that's how that works. And you can see it says above Earth's northern hemisphere. All right, my friends, I know that this was a lot of steps and a lot of complicated things to do. So take your time making this. If you have any confusion about what to do, all of the instructions I just went through are on the back of that moon phases sheet, and then the instructions on how to use it are here. I hope you really have fun making this and using it. It's, it's like I said, it's a little complicated, but once you figure it out, you can use this all year long. You could find any date. In fact, really quickly, I'm going to look at my birthday. So my birthday is September 11th. I just found it over here in September. I moved the viewing wheel so it's open to that date. I can see that it is going to be waxing gibbous, so I just matched the moon from here and here. And then I can tell it's going to rise at 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon, and set. I'm going to move that moon set panel out. So what I'm learning is make sure to leave a big enough window for the moonrise and moon set windows, because if it's a little too close, you might not see it. So moon rise at 3 p.m. and set at 3 a.m. And then the view from Earth, it looks a little bit different. It's kind of a slash there. Anyway, that's the moon phases tracker. I really hope you enjoy it. It was made by NASA. They designed it. So of course we love NASA. And yeah, if you liked making this, please let us know. I would love to hear that. All right. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that activity, and I will see you later. Bye.